Alright, hello! So, this is a video on the Prime Access Datamine, and I did not really consider that you guys would want to talk about this, but let's talk about this. As you all know, the next Prime Access is going to contain Nekros Prime, Tigris Prime, and the Gallatin Prime. No big shock, we got that reveal quite a bit of time ago, but what we don't have confirmed yet are the stats, but we have this Datamine. And some of the stats of the Tigris and the Gallatin specifically have caused a little bit of controversy that I want to talk about, and we'll discuss why there may be controversy and why also that might be okay. But first let's talk about Nekros Prime. So for Nekros Prime you can see he's got like no change on health, 150 shields, armor is no change, sprint speed is no change, and power 75 to 125. So with this looks very placeholder, and like this will be changed before release. So don't count on this being very accurate. And of course, with all of this stuff, datamines are not guarantees. So don't plan on these being 100% exactly what we get every time, because it's a datamine. It can be changed on a whim. It's not like supposed to be released information. So take it as you will. That also goes for the materials. But if you look at these materials, you can see Oro cells, totally reasonable 3, totally reasonable 3, ferrite 18k, totally reasonable. That is a very common resource. Rubido 6k, totally reasonable. 2 argon, totally reasonable. Alloy plate, that's actually kind of low even. If it was 20k, I wouldn't bat a fucking eye. Neural sensors, 3, whatever. 12k polymer, totally fine. 5 nitane, totally reasonable. 3 control modules, that's, I mean, that could be a lot more than that and be totally reasonable. Tellurium, 3, totally reasonable. Salvage, like, basically no salvage. And 500 plastids, which is, like, a low amount for me. Totally that's a good cost. It's a definite, like, solid cost as compared to what we had with Vauban and stuff, although his material costs could be reflective of how rare it is to get regular Vauban, so this might be something that we can come to expect is about this layout of resources, and this is really good. I'm happy that they're not outrageous. Like, I'm happy that I'm not looking at this and seeing 30k Rubido? 30k? 30k. Because the 30k Rubido would be a lot. Like, stuff like that. Or if it said, like, fucking, like, 45 Orokin cells. It's like, that's a lot of, like, I have that, but that's a lot of Orokin cells. So I'm glad to see that that stuff isn't a big problem, or shouldn't be a big problem this time. Like, nothing stands out on that list to me as being hard to acquire, so we should be good there. Now let's move on to the weapons. So first we got the Tigris Prime, and this weapon, I've had a mixed amount of people telling me things about this. Some people think it's too strong, and some people think it's not as good as the Sancti Tigris. And I am also of both. I am also of both opinions, because I think that it is going to be a side grade to the Sancti Tigris. It's an MR8 weapon, which is reasonable. It's 4 less than the Sancti Tigris, but there's an advantage-disadvantage here, in my opinion. Because this weapon is going to do more damage. It has 700 more base damage than the Sancti Tigris, and it has better critical stats. So from a damage perspective, it's going to do a lot more. But if you've used the Sancti Tigris, and you know about the Sancti Tigris, you know that that more damage part of that is not really a big consideration whenever we're talking about the Tigris series. Because, like, from the regular Tigris to the Sancti Tigris, there's a nice little power leap, and that's nice. Because the Sancti Tigris can fucking mop dudes up. But there's actually a build for the Sancti Tigris that I have used quite frequently that forgoes some damage mods in favor of adding some more ammo capacity to spread out your damage across more enemies. Because the damage is high enough that you're still killing pretty high level stuff with just 1 or 2 shots. So you would rather have 4 ammo capacity in your magazine, or your barrels, I guess, whatever. And because of that, I think there's like this weird comparison between Tigris Prime and Sancti Tigris. So the Sancti Tigris has the ability to heal you and do like a big AoE damage, and that's really valuable. And if the Tigress Prime's extra damage doesn't really matter in a lot of situations, that'll still mean that the Sancti Tigress has a really important spot in that it can heal and do AoE damage, which is really important. So I think the big takeaway for me is that damage-wise, I think it's going to be the strongest shotgun, but like in the use case that we have for a weapon that does that much damage, I think that the more popular build on the Tigress Prime is going to be to give it more of a larger magazine size, because it is going to do so much damage just at base. Like it's not nuts, is what I'm basically saying, because you're losing things from the Sancti Tigress. And I think that a lot of people are going to consider the healing and the AoE from the Sancti Tigress to be a lot better. I don't think there's... like, it's good and bad. And some people are going to say that more damage is crazy, that's OP, why is that thing an MR12? Because they don't need to heal. People that play Rhino, for example, are like, why would I don't fucking want the healing, just give me the more deeps. That's what I'm looking for, I'm looking for deeps, I'm a Rhino player. But, on the other hand, if you have, like, an Inaros player who gains a lot from that proc with the Sancti Tigress, you heal a huge amount from that. Maybe you want that, and that's a trade-off. I think it's going to be totally fine if it comes out at those stats. I don't think it's, like, outrageously... like, it's not an outrageously good weapon, just because, like, it's not that much better than the Sancti Tigress, if that makes sense. But the Sancti Tigress is an outrageously good weapon, because it's a very, very high-tier series of weapons overall. But anyway, let's move on to the Gallatin Prime. So, if we're going to talk about some crazy shit, some fucking crazy shit, we're talking about the Gallatin Prime. So, allegedly, according to the Datamine, locked at Mastery Rank 13. This is very important. It's very important to note specifically that, because I think that that can not only give us a hint as to what we're going to be expecting from the MR lock of the Syndicate weapons, which I think is going to either be 16 or 9. Hoping 16, personally. I know those of you that are not at Master Rank 16 though are probably hoping it's at 9. But MR13, when this releases, would be the highest MR lock in the game, and that's very, very important whenever we're discussing the stats of a weapon, because MR is relatively equivalent to the amount of power you should be able to gain. We already know that most of, and there's a couple, like, there's missteps in the MR system, but in general, on like a broad scale, higher MR is higher power. So, whenever we're taking the Gallatin Prime, which is an MR13 weapon, take it in mind that the Vacor Heck and the Sancti Tigress and the Rakta Cernos are MR12 weapons, and those weapons are out-fucking-standing and can heal you and give you energy and shit. So, the stats for the Gallatin Prime are nutso. They're crazy nutso. Attack speed of 1. Reasonable. Nothing crazy here so far. IPS ends up at 250 total damage with a focus on slash. That's a lot. That is 100 more than the highest base damage we currently have. That is a huge leap. Combine that with good critical chance, regular crit mult, which I'm not gonna fucking complain about, and like good status chance, and you've got yourself a fucking weapon that will fuck some shit up, coming with 3 polarities, and like, that's good. It's like that's a weapon that will fuck shit up, but justified by the MR lock of the weapon. Basically, we have to consider that there will, like, a lot of people will look at this and go, man, power creep. And they're kind of right, but the system for there to be creeping power is kind of already implemented in the game, because MR is kind of supposed to be that, based on, like, what we've seen. Like, because they wanted to, like, rebalance, like, where the MR sits for a lot of weapons for a while, and I think that adding some, like, top-end weapons like the Tigress Prime on MR8 and, like, the Gallatin Prime on MR13 is going to give them more of, like, a base to start moving other weapons around in their MR requirement. And it'll be better overall. Because, obviously, the max you can be at right now in terms of MR is 22, which is what I'm at. So, it would be a misstep, I think, to lock a weapon at, say, MR20. because so much of your player base is going to be like, well, fuck, I'm never going to get there. And actually, I think some players literally would not be able to get there without like a bunch of events rolling back around. I think you can only get to MR like 19 or so, like not considering event weapons. But like that's a crazy thing. Like locking something at MR 20, whoa, can't do that. You'll piss a lot of people off doing that. But if you want to have that like creep of power over time with your MR getting higher and that giving you access to more power, having it like a 13, it's a little bit over half of your maximum. That's not that much to ask if you're going to put a weapon that is going to be top fucking tier there. So while a lot of people I think are going to scream the Gallatin Prime is like power creep and what the fuck, this makes all these weapons irrelevant, this is so much better than the War, it's easier to get, like that stuff is, it comes with the territory. War is an MR10 weapon, this is 3 MRs higher than that, and you have to consider that Master Rank is like, you have to get more per each level, so it's going to become more and more worth it over time. For example, if we got to the point where MR30 was our final cap, and there was an MR19 weapon and an MR20 weapon, well, the gap between those is probably actually about the same as the gap between MR10 and MR13, so that power leap would probably be pretty significant. And that's something that we have to consider whenever we look at it. But I know we've been talking about all these weapons and damages and all that, but we haven't talked about the true endgame, which is Fashion Frame, the Prime Access cosmetics. So this is the thing I'm excited about, very much so personally. As much as I want the Tigress Prime and as much as I want the Gallatin Prime, because those seem fantastic, this is the real excitement. This right here is the actual for reals excitement, because this is three, and they're the ones that we love usually whenever they release them. The Mortos Prime binds, which obviously only for Nekros Prime. Totally fine with that. They're probably gonna look fucking sweet. The Arcanthus armor set. Armor sets so far, they are fucking 2 for 2 on fucking great looking Prime armor sets. I'm very much down for it. I want it, need it in my life even. And then the Uru Prime Sindana. And the Uru regular Sindana is in the game, and it looks alright. Bit dated, one of the earlier Sindana. But the potential there is for this Sindana to look very, very nice. And I can almost 100% guarantee that if that comes out and it's all that stuff, like, usually, like, a release happens and then the stream's like, are you gonna get the accessories? What's happening? That's not gonna be a question. Like, I will have already gotten it before you see me on the day that that comes out, if it's all of that stuff, because that is very worth it. To me personally, of course. But yeah, that is all the Datamine stuff. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this, because, I mean, personally, like, up until this point, mostly I enjoyed just personally speculating on datamines, because, obviously, datamines are not guarantees. The personal speculation for me is really, really fun, and if you guys enjoy it whenever I share it with you and go over all this stuff, then I very much would like to keep doing it. So let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.